Clerk, please call the roll.
Stephen Coyne.
Here.
Charles Duncan.
Present.
Catherine Leonard. Here. Justin McLaughlin.
Here.
Jean Marie Napolitano.
Here.
Naomi Neville.
Here.
And Henry Winthrop.
Here.
There's a quorum present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up for the Citizens Forum?
No, they have not.
Good.
So, the consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exceptions of item A and B2.
We have a motion in a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it.
An application for a special event license, Bowen's Loft Company.
Madam Clerk, item A first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Minutes of the October 24th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes of the meeting to reflect in item 19, at the very end of the minutes, that the executive session ended at 7:31, and the motion to adjourn was seconded by Councilor Napolitano. Those are the only two changes.
We have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
An application for a special event license, Bowen's Loft Company.
Councilors Naomi and Coyne are going to recuse themselves on this issue. Do we have a motion to approve?
Chairman, a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
An application for a second-hand license, Mark Jagger.
We have an application for second-hand license for Mark Jager Antiques. This is a hearing. Anybody here from the applicant that would like to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing and approve the application.
So a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Annual vittling license renewals.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the annual vittling license renewals for Bellevue Coffee House, Crazy Dough Donuts, Ducats Incorporated, and the Scylla Sweet Tooth Incorporated.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
And vittling license renewals for establishments with alcoholic beverage licenses.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Now, we'll take these items separate. Item A.
Salvation Cafe, Inc.
I make a motion to approve the application of Salvation Cafe.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Stone Soup, LLC.
Councilor Duncan will recuse himself on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application of Stone Soup LLC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
A communication from David and Chris Kosaski asking to address the council regarding duck tours in Newport.
Are the Kosaskis here to address the council? Please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion to receive.
Hello,
Hello, David
motion to
Kosaski,
receive.
5 Winchester Terrace, Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, 02130.
Do we have a motion to receive the correspondence?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Yes, sir. Please identify yourself and your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, David Kosaski, 5 Winchester Terrace, Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, 02130.
Thank you.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Mayor. Certainly, sorry about that. I'm David Kosaski, my wife Chris Kosaski. We're here to present an idea to bring a new tour to Newport, Rhode Island, the Newport Duck Tours. My wife has handed out some literature for you, a few things about our request. First of all, about us, we're originally from the Midwest. Both of us, we met in Boston. We live in Boston now. We've been Newport property owners and taxpayers here in the great city of Newport for the past 12 years. We've been looking for a way to become permanent residents of Newport business owners and part of the Newport community for quite a few years now. We've got 7-year-old twins, Jack and Julia, that have grown up here during summer months, and we spend most of our time in Newport, as much time as we possibly can in Newport. The reason we're here to bring World War II amphibious vehicle tours to Newport. Has anyone been on a Newport or on a duck tour before? Or heard of the duck tours? Okay, great. We will close a picture of a couple of the duck tours for your knowledge a little further in the presentation, so you have an idea what they look like if you've not seen a duck boat before. But it's an exciting land and water tour, successful operating in over 24 different cities in the United States, cities like Boston, New York, D.C., San Diego, and the oldest duck tour operating in the Wisconsin Dells for over 60 years. Newport's the perfect place because of its rich history, both in land and water. Land, obviously, the Bellevue Mansions, Tennis Hall of Fame, and Fort Adams in the water, as well as the America's Cup boats, and our wonderful historic wharfs that we have. Our plan is to operate 2 duck vehicles, touring spring through fall, operating between 10 and 12 75-minute tours a day in peak months, and in the shoulder season, decreasing that amount to an amount we will determine. We'd like to use a route and harbor launch location that's acceptable to the City of Newport, the Waterfront Commission, and any other governing body. We've closed a proposal route. Of course, we can change and have discussion about. It shows an area of launch at King Park. We've also identified Fort Adams and Casey's Marina as opportunities to launch the duck boats. We'd also like to operate a small ticket booth daily from 9 to 6, preferably in a high-traffic area along America's Cup Boulevard, Banish's Wharf, Bowen's Wharf, and of course we'll work with the U.S. Coast Guard, to ensure all certifications are met and the captains are trained and completely trained not only in operating the boats but in hospitality, because they are, of course, represented as the City of Newport as tour operators. Some of the benefits we feel will bring to Newport, bring more visitors and tourism dollars to Newport, not only on the Newport duck boats. In addition, we think we keep our tourists here longer, spending more money in our shops and our restaurants and other tourist attractions we have. This offers a very fun, unique, family-oriented tour of Newport. In cities offering duck tours, it's the #1 attraction for families, and we really feel we would help bring more families to the City of Newport. Once established, we would give back to the community through local charities. We really want to make Newport a better place to live, work, and visit. We know after speaking with a few of the council members that you've had some concerns we'd like to discuss with you. Now is an appropriate time or another time. Some of the objections we've heard, the size of the boats. We've brought some literature that talks about the size of the RIPTA trolleys that are currently in Newport. The duck tour boats are actually smaller than the trolleys you see in the streets currently. We've also heard that there's concern of congestion in the streets, and we're only asking to operate 2 boats, not fleets of boats, vehicles, through the city streets. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair,
Any questions from Mr. Kosowski? Councilor Leonard.
I'm just going to make a few comments. There was a proposal years ago to bring the ducks to Newport, and first of all, King Park was mentioned. King Park is, by deed, does not allow any commercial use. I'll give you that. These are also, from what I've seen of duck boats in Boston, big diesel vehicles, and it has been a topic of discussion in neighborhood groups and so forth in the past, and actually when this first came on the docket. And I don't think the harbor master, is Tim here? One of the things that we have put in place and the council has voted on is that the Waterfront Commission would look at proposed uses to the harbor. And we have a harbor that's very congested, and we also have a harbor that, and Mr. Mills could address this much better than I can, and the Waterfront Commission could. I don't know if it's possible to operate them in terms of dredging and so forth, but these would, we have roadways that have little segways, we have the three-wheeled, the little green machines, and then we're talking here about a pretty big amphibious vehicle running the same roadways. So, from the phone calls I've received, and I don't mean to discourage you, it seems like Newport's quite small, and I'm just personally saying I don't know if it's a good fit. So,
if I may address your 3 concerns. First, you said they were diesel vehicles. These are actually replicants of the World War II vehicles. They're they're actually replicants of the World War II amphibious duck vehicles, and they're actually gas-powered.
okay, something said diesel online when I looked up the particular model.
Yes, there are. These are replicants of that original boat. And then I did have an opportunity to speak with the harbor master. He did not animately oppose the boats in the water. He just, encouraged caution and was not sure about the entry in the Fort Adams area, and he was willing to discuss the opportunity.
Any other questions from members of the council? Thank you. Any members of the public would like to be heard on this issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk,
Council liaison updates.
do we have any updates? Council liaison? Hearing none?
Okay, city manager updates.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to skip over the Engage Newport comment because I have quite a bit to talk about with the Hurricane Sandy recovery, and I want to give my limited time to that. First, again, I'd like to publicly acknowledge and applaud our public safety and public service forces for their quick responses, both to the preparation before, during, and after. I think they did a tremendous job. If you see anybody from city staff, please acknowledge them for staying here and doing the work of the yeoman's work during the storm. As you know, we had significant damage in several areas around the water's edge. Ocean Drive seawalls the state's done a tremendous job with getting that in hand, putting out some emergency procurement bids, and should be ready to go to repair the seawalls by next week, with the construction, we're hoping, complete by Christmas. So that was a very tremendous, quick, rapid response to that. We've had a similar response to the Easton's Beach. The structural engineers, the FEMA people have been out. The building's been cleaned up with the sand and so on. We've looked at all of the HVAC systems and so on, and are ready to start repairs to the first floor. We've had quite a few FEMA folks. The FEMA folks are the federal folks as well as state folks out looking at Cliff Walk, working with us to try and figure out what we can do with the Cliff Walk to at least get portions of that back open. And finally, some of you may not have seen this, but during the hurricane, some of the tent coverings for where the RIPTA buses are down by Discover Newport were slashed by the storm and became a hazard. The whole sheeting, that whole white canvas sheeting, is one piece. And so once it got cut right in the middle, there were some metal pieces flying around, and so on. The fire department helped us out by getting their ladder truck out there and securing some of that temporarily. We will be issuing an emergency contract to take that down, get it down so that it can be down by Thanksgiving. So it could be as early as tomorrow, it could be Monday that project will start. But there will be one small section toward the back. There's one small section that wasn't damaged and is independent of the larger section. That will stay, so there will be some shelter for the winter months. But the other white canvas will come down.
Thank you, Ms. Arlington. Any questions for the city manager?
Yes, I do. How did we weather with the new marine facility, the doors, the special doors they put in?
They were great. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Water came in the building in certain areas, which was what was expected, but it was able to go right back out. But as far as debris and sand, those doors kept all that from getting into the facility. So that worked
Okay, good.
well.
Thank you.
I would like to add one more thing for the small businesses. The SBA and the Chamber of Commerce, the Newport County Chamber of Commerce, are working together to try and get information out to the small businesses. So if any of the small businesses have had damage or flooding or anything, they are working together to coordinate assistance to that.
Thank you. Any other questions for the city manager? Thank you very much.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
I move the reappointment of Robert Power, John Hirschelbach, Peter Generos, and David Downs to the Cliff Walk Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. I move the appointment of alternate Chris Fagan to be a full member of the Historic District Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. I move the appointment of Dan Dias as to one of the alternate positions on the Historic District Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed, the ayes have it. I move the appointment of Pamela Breves and Roderick Kavanaugh to full members of the Juvenile Hearing Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed, the ayes have it. I move the appointment of Francis Donald O'Brien to the Personal Appeals Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed, the ayes have it.
A resolution supporting efforts in securing Newport as
Councilor Neville?
This is a resolution in support of our willingness and eagerness to become a host city for the Volvo Ocean Race scheduled for 2015. Whereas in 2015, the Volvo Ocean Race, a triennial event, will take place over an 8-month period, with the fastest ocean racing sailboats covering 40,000 miles over 4 oceans. And whereas in the spring of 2015, a 2-week race stopover will take place at a United States port, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors to the host city. And whereas the city of Newport has always been and remains a focal point for world-class yachting racing events, having most notably and successfully hosting the America's Cup World Series races in the summer of 2012, which involved a strong commitment and collaboration of state and local governments and host committees. And whereas the city of Newport, known as the yachting capital of the world, wishes to continue to host the many great sailing events held nationally and internationally that result in economic benefits to the city and local businesses and provide our residents the opportunity to welcome sailors from all over the world, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Newport hereby expresses its desire to serve as the U.S. stopover for the Volvo Ocean Race in the spring of 2015 and expresses the commitment of the city to work and partner with the state of Rhode Island and the private entities involved in ensuring a well-planned, safe, and successful event. And I ask my fellow councilors to support this resolution.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'd just like to bring up that Brad Reed, who did an absolutely tremendous job on the America's Cup World Series, brought this to our attention and asked us to get out in front of this as they're planning for the Volvo Ocean race. He figured the sooner we get our oar in the water on this issue, the better chance that we have of potentially landing it. So I want to thank him for bringing this to our attention. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
A resolution regarding back-in parking
Councilman
on Broadway.
McLaughlin?
Mr. Chairman, at the recently conducted charrette dealing with Washington Square, among the concepts and designs to improve and enhance that square and the adjacent areas, with the idea of using back-in parking, this was addressed during the Broadway streetscape process. But I think there was more evidence provided at this time which caused me to put this resolution together, which would have the city administration re-examine the concept as an alternative parking arrangement within the Broadway streetscape project and provide us a written report by our December 12th meeting discussing the pros and the cons of the approach and the feasibility of incorporating it in the Broadway streetscape project. I've just essentially read what was in that resolution, so for the moment I'm going to move passage of the resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
If I could, just momentarily, this is part of the complete streets thing. If you're going to talk about that, I'll leave that to you. But the idea of parking like this helps to make the streets safer, and I think we saw that in the charrette. It may not work, but I think there may be some concepts which merit readdressing. What I'd like to suggest is that there was a committee that addressed these things, the Broadway Streetscape Committee, and that perhaps that group could be, reconvened to address this and give us a reconsideration of their recommendation. That's all I had to say.
Councilor Napolitano?
Yes, I wanted to ask administration in terms of, and we had considered this, and I attended all the Broadway charrettes, and this was discussed. But I wanted to ask, is there a cost involved in reviewing this, looking at it again, making a recommendation? And number two, would there be any kind of delay in the implementation, as we've already stated that we would like to have Broadway started in the spring of 13?
There are, take 2.2 of those points. The first one is the cost. If you're just asking the staff to look at it, what we really do is just review and reiterate what was in the study that I sent you in electronically. I don't know that they're, we've had staff review that. They worked with the Broadway groups and so on, so I don't know that there'd be a lot more information we could bring you. We do have a work session on the Broadway project scheduled for December 5th, so we could certainly talk more about what the decision was to make that recommendation at that time. As far as the cost to implement and the time frame to implement, again, I can't give you a solid answer, but if we were going to redesign our design for the streetscape is pretty much complete. So if we're going to redesign it, that would obviously cost money to redesign. Whether or not that redesign and the re-permitting, if there was a RIDOT review that had to go, would postpone implementation or construction, I can't answer that. We have 3 parts of the road construction. This is a little prelude to the work session. There's water work that has to go in, there's sewer work, and then there's the actual reconstruction. Water and sewer obviously has to start before we do the reconstruction. So to a point, any kind of redesign could maybe go in parallel to that, but because we don't know the time frame or the permitting, I can't say whether it's an absolute.
Mr. Chair?
Just
Councilor
to
Paul.
follow up with a comment. When we studied this before, it had come to our attention that there's primarily 2 arteries into the city of Newport, Broadway and Memorial. And I know any given time, whether it's an event or in season, I live directly off Broadway and have difficulty getting out because of the traffic, just out to go in a different direction. I can't imagine what it would be like, particularly for seniors, to have to pull their car up, as it was described at the charrette, back it in to a parking space. I just have some real concerns. I believe we did address this. It's requesting consideration. Well, actually, we're asking reconsideration at a very, very late time frame. If there's any additional cost or if there's any delay in fixing Broadway, I would be totally opposed to this.
Thank you. Councilor Duncan and Councilor Leonard.
I am a senior, and I can back in. When first introduced by Ms. George over there in the charrette on Broadway, it made more sense. And for those of everyone in this room has backed out of Broadway with a great big huge giant SUV right beside them and hope they didn't get their stern end torn off the car. As a biker coming down Broadway, you can be seen, and that's the secret here. And that was one of the reasons I mentioned Ms. George on this, because it was brought out then, the visibility and the safety involved in this. Now, you're talking about you're going to have diagonal parking. There's no reason why not you can't switch the paint the other direction. The drawback to this whole thing is the education, getting people who are not residences. It's going to take Sean Flynn right over there and his company to really promote it if it's adapted and explain to the people, to us, the safety and the advantages of this. Because, you got to back in, you have to back out. I'd rather drive out than back in. But it is a real positive step.
Thank you, Councilor Duncan. Councilor Leonard.
I don't remember, so usually I remember pretty well. Did the ITC look at this before?
I don't have the answer to that. I would assume that because it was quite a large issue at the time, but I don't have their report, so I can have that for the 5th.
I mean, I think those are the experts we've always relied on in terms of changes to traffic patterns and so forth. So to me, if we're going to look at this, then that's really the very important group that I think we've relied on in the past, and their input, I think, would be most valuable.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Neville.
I do think that this is the correct way to go, but I do completely agree with Councilor Napolitano about the fact that this has been looked at for a while, and I don't want it to delay Broadway, and we would need to know the cost of the redesign if we did move forward in this direction. But I would have liked to have seen this in the plan 2 years ago, because I do think this is the right direction. So if we can get it to work, I think I would like to see it happen, if we can get it to work.
Thank you, Councilor. And I personally think it's well worth taking another look at, not just discounting it. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 6-2.
Hopefully not.
I'm sorry, 5-2. I went to De La Salle, I'm sorry.
I would take that as a vote 6-2. Action number 5064.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the Middletown-Newport Tax Treaty Amendment and adopt the accompanying resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council and members of the public, this is to amend the tax treaty to include property that was recently acquired by the City of Newport Water Department. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5065.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the award of a contract for the Incident Command Center audiovisual requirements and to adopt the accompanying resolution.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council, members of the public, this authorizes the city to spend $58,750 on audiovisual requirements for the command center. Any further discussion?
I had one quick question. It says in the bottom that this project's funded with the state and federal grant provided by the command center. Does this $66,000, is that the whole grant, or is there more? Do we know how that worked? Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, one more thing. What's the city's contribution to this?
I don't think we have them.
0.
0. Okay, thank you.
That's a good number.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5066.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the award of bid 13-025, parking ticket collection and processing services, and adopt the accompanying resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council and members of the public, this is for a contract for a 3-year period with 3 2-year options for the parking ticket collection processing. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Leonard.
I have a question, and it says here, let's see, includes all equipment and up to 1,100 hours of temporary labor for processing and inquiry. What if it goes over that?
Could you come up to the podium, please, and identify yourself? Mr. Bastozo?
Yes, Norman Bastozo, Administrator of the Newport Police Department. In the past, it has never come near that, and it's capped at that. That's a temporary person that the collection agency has working in collections department.
Okay, but we've never come near that?
It's never come near that as far as I know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5067.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the CSO Program Manager 10-039 System Master Plan Scenario and adopt the accompanying resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council and members of the public, this is a recommendation on behalf of the city staff to approve the development of the System Master Plan Scenario in accordance with the consent decree. It is due to be submitted to the EPA and the RIDM for review and approval by November 30th. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Leonard.
Mike, there's nothing on the front page of this that gives our monetary, what it costs and where the funding's coming from, which we usually get.
I believe this is just to authorize the submittal. There's no cost associated with this submittal. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so there's no cost, and this is to meet the requirements. Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5068.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the award of bid 13-009, Almy Pond TMDL Management, and to adopt the accompanying resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council and members of the public, this authorizes the city manager to spend up to not to exceed $40,675 for professional services associated with the Almy Pond TMDL management plan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I believe action 5069 has been withdrawn.
Item 16 is withdrawn.
Okay. Action number 5070.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with Parati Park request for use, interstate navigation, Block Island Fast Ferry, and adopt the accompanying resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Members of the council and members of the public, this is to authorize for a one-year trial period for the Block Island Fast Ferry to use the Parati Park facility, and they're also asking to use the Harbor Masters building to sell tickets.
Mr.
Do
Chairman.
we have any discussion? Councilor Coyne.
First of all, I want to go on record as saying I think this is a fantastic idea to have a high-speed ferry come to Parati Park. My hesitation in approving it has to do with use of deck space in the Harbor Master's office to sell tickets. I have a real hesitation to begin the precedent of allowing a private company to do commercial business within city buildings. So I'd be much more comfortable approving this resolution if we simply removed the words "and for desk space in the Harbor Master's office" and move forward with it that way.
We have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to amend and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr.
Back to the original motion. Councilor Leonard?
I agree with Councilor Coyne on this. I would love to see it happen, but I also think it needs some tweaking. One of it is to use public space for a private business without some remuneration to the taxpayers who help pay for it. And my other question, which is along those lines, are in terms of the use of the Parati Park facility, and would there be some revenues for the city for the use of that? What would be the hours? I think it's something, I think in the long term it's good for Newport. It brings people in and out and gets other traffic, and I would like to see it. I mean, I would like to see it expanded to go to other places like Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and bring people in and out myself. But it's, again, assets owned by the public, and then we have a private use of those assets. So I would really like to look at that.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. We have a motion and a second. In that motion, it denies the use of the facility.
I'm talking about Parati, the
We're talking
actual-
about the Harbor
the dock.
Masters?
He's talking about the dock.
Oh, I'm sorry, about the dock. Okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilor Neville.
Oh, I just had a question. It says a one-year trial. What's the start and end date of the year?
If I may respond to a couple of the points that have been brought up, let me just give you a very brief history on the use of Parati Park and the charges. Back in 2002, the city passed resolutions to allow ferry dockage at Parati Park. In 2002 and then again in 2003, council discussed the fees and the charges for that, and they determined at that time that they would have a $100 annual or seasonal fee for local harbor, local ferry service, and the interstate or inter-island service, if you will, was $200 a year for the annual license. So subsequent to that, each applicant that requested to use Parati Park, council approved that use, And then the city negotiated and came out with an agreement that had a hold harmless clause and so on and so forth. And those annual contracts have been rolling ever since for the 3 entities that are using the park or using Parati right now. We would do a similar thing. If you passed or you authorized the fast ferry use of Parati Park, we would then work with them to develop that agreement to come back for formal authorization for you. You've already determined whether, at least in your motion, you've determined whether or not council wants to allow the harbor master's space to be used for tickets. So I think that's, at least by your motion, that sounds like it's not something you're going to want us to pursue and negotiate with. The final thing would be determining whether the $100 and $200 annual fees are still the correct fees for this type of use, or whether we need to have any type of other market rate fee structure for a larger ferry system like a fast ferry as opposed to our local ferries.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Counsel?
just make a comment.
Councilor Coyne?
Manager. I would assume in your negotiation process that you would make the owners of the fast ferry aware of the fact that they could sell their tickets at Discover Newport at the Visitor Center like other companies do. But also, do you have any intention of encouraging their ridership to utilize the Gateway Center parking lot as well? That's another way to have an added benefit for this business moving into the use of Parati Park.
Any other discussion on this? Yes, sir. You'd like to be heard? I'm sorry. Please come up to the podium, please.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Christian Myers, and I'm here representing Interstate Navigation, the Block Island Ferry. We've operated a passenger-only ferry between Fort Adams and Old Harbor Block Island since the construction of our dock in 1961. We're proposing to operate an 89-foot passenger-only Subchapter K U.S. Coast Guard certified aluminum catamaran fast ferry from the city docks at Parati Park. It would be a great benefit to our customers, of course, to be able to sell tickets at this facility. We're currently selling tickets on board our traditional passenger-only ferry that operates now, currently in the summer, July and August. We sell the tickets on board. We're proposing to operate 3 round trips a day from your facility, approximately 9:30 in the morning, midday, 12:30, and 6:30 in the evening. And the purpose and the desire for us to have a desk space, we think would serve the city very well in that it would help the Harbor Master's Department with an element of customer service. And we would have someone there to help supervise and corral and marshal our customers and help direct people, answer questions. So we feel that to have a desk space there, it's not just purely for us to make money. We think it would help the service as a whole.
Okay.
And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Well,
Counselor?
I just had a comment, and I guess I'm thinking the slippery slope. I know there's other services that utilize their vessels around the city, and I don't, the Discover Newport is right across the street as a place to sell tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
We haven't allowed, individual ticket places to pop up unless they're on private property, and I kind of feel that the Harbor Master's office, it's owned by the city, and I think to give the advantage to perhaps one business as opposed to something else could create some of a problem. I would really prefer it sold in a different location, maybe down at the Gateway Center.
Okay.
Mr.
Any
Chair?
other questions? Councilor Leonard.
The most important thing to us is the dock space.
Right.
Okay.
We need the dock space more than we need the ticket counter.
Right.
Of course, we would love to have the counter. We think it would benefit everybody. However,
Great. Councilor Leonard?
Other places that you use, I know you use Fort Adams as to Block Island.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you pay for that dock space?
Oh, it's a lot of money. And we don't get much. They allow us to use the dock for approximately, I'd have to get back to you with the figure. I don't know right off the top of my head, but it's a lot more. It's a very high rent for the amount of time we're actually there.
But it's not $100.
Oh, no. It's
Yeah,
thousands.
I just like to make a comment. I think where this council is going is we're willing to grant this license, but the license only goes right now till February. But in the interim, we're going to ask the city manager to come up with another fee structure for the use of the park. It's certainly not going to be $100 or $200. I'll speak for myself personally, and maybe the other members of the council don't agree, but if you're able to negotiate some kind of a fee for the use of the facility, then it's something that could be considered. But right now, we're talking about $200 for the use of the Harbor Masters facility and the docks, and I don't think this council is ready to approve that.
Mr.
Any other
Chair?
discussion, Councilor
Mr.
Leonard?
Chairman?
What I want to say is we have assets that the taxpayers and really visitors and so forth who pay taxes are responsible for, and I would love to see you operate. But if something happens to the docks at Parati Park, it's the taxpayers who are going to end up footing the bill, and there needs to be some kind of reserve fund to take care of these things moving forward, because otherwise the burden becomes one on those who pay the taxes, and I think that's a very important issue in today's economy.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. Councilor McLaughlin.
I just want to suggest that it's not too far away where you could find that a fee is charged for each passenger who gets on board or gets off, and that might require enabling legislation. But this is going to be good for the city. I think we should negotiate with you so that we become partners in this, where we help you maximize your business because it will maximize the revenue to us, and that may be one way to make it really of interest to us. I'm not thinking in terms of big money, but if it was 10 cents or 25 cents a passenger, I think it's 50 cents in Oak Bluff that they pay, and I think we should look into that.
We're very open to suggestion. We're paying at the upper end of the scale now for Fort Adams, so we certainly had in mind a figure far more substantial than $200.
Give it to us, Will.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to reiterate, I don't think any member of the council is against you coming to Parati Park. I don't want you to walk away with that feeling that we have any issue with that. I think we welcome that. We welcome the fact, we respect what you've been able to accomplish so far as a business.
Thank you.
I just want to point out, we had people just a few minutes ago get up in front of us talking about bringing a different tour company and wanting to operate somewhere on America's Cup Avenue. Well, if we open a door that allows one business to operate from the Harbor Master's office, what prevents us, or what gives us any leverage to tell the next person that, you can't use America's Cup Avenue to operate your business from it? And that's where I come from. It's nothing against you. It's against setting the precedent for, 10, 15 years down the road. I don't want to open that can of worms.
Certainly.
Thank you, Councilor Coyne. Any other members of the public like to be heard? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5071.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with personnel ordinance, ASME employee pay plan, and to adopt the ordinance on first reading.
Members of the council, members of the public, I'm sorry, we have a motion and a second. I got ahead of myself. This is a recommendation to approve on first reading the ordinance regarding the pay plan for ASME employees. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Action number 5072.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication dealing with the Lenthal School property, developer's request for waiver of deeded restrictions for affordable housing unit, and to adopt the accompanying resolution.
Mr. Chair, there is a request.
I'm sorry.
For a continuance on that.
I'm going to vote on it.
The applicant has asked to continue this?
Yes.
We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recess as council and convene as Board of License
Second.
Commissioners.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it.
Consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the communication from Annabelle Grace and to approve and make part of the file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
The annual liquor license renewal, Class BV for Stone Soup LLC.
This is a hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? I'm sorry, Councilor Duncan is recused on this item. This is a hearing. Any member of the public like to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing and to approve the annual liquor license renewal for Stone Soup LLC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Application or the annual renewal of the Class C license of Salvation Cafe.
This is a hearing. Any member of the public like to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing and to approve the annual liquor license renewal for the Salvation Cafe, Inc.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn as Board of License Commission as reconvened as council, and based on an affirmative vote of the members of the present, to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.